Social media has become the busiest information highway of the 21st century. Sites such as Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, and many others have come to dominate the way we digest information as a global community. Most of us who are watching this right now use some of these websites, if not all, and most of us take them as they are and take them for granted. This quite flawed, individualistic human perspective excludes the rest of the world and the people of that world who live in different countries. These countries all differ from one another in many aspects. Despite this variety of nation-states, one commonality stands out amongst many others: censorship. According to a 2017 report by the Freedom House, approximately 120 independent states shared some level of censorship, with half of them being partly free and half of them labeled as completely not free. The Freedom House tracks 195 independent states in total. That means 61% of those monitored countries practice some sense of censorship. But what is censorship? The National Coalition Against Censorship, or the NCAC, defines censorship as, and I quote, "whenever some people succeed in imposing their political or moral values on others by suppressing words, images, or ideas that they find offensive." End quote. Words such as these might flare up images of propaganda and authoritarian regimes across history, but not all censorship is considered illegal or immoral. The NCAC continues and states that private companies are practicing their own First Amendment rights when they decide to censor content, and that the government is allowed by law to block content it believes to be obscene. Right now, you might be wondering, well, if governments and private companies are in the right to censor, what's all the fuss about? Well, the NCAC, a non-profit organization based in New York, operates within the United States alone. In the report by the Freedom House, the United States is a part of the 39% of countries deemed free. Then what is the situation like in those other states? For example, let's take a look at China, a country that was considered unfree by the 2017 report. Powerful, economically booming, and extremely influential, China has been at the center of world politics in recent years. Although this sudden resurgence into center stage of geopolitics was no surprise to the Chinese Communist Party themselves. They had been busy building an authoritarian and wealthy state that keeps not a single civilian unchecked by the government, and censorship has become one of the most useful assets for the Chinese government. According to a report by Reporters Without Borders on China, and I quote, "Under tougher internet regulations, members of the public can now be jailed for the comments they leave on news items posted on social media or messaging services, or even just for sharing content." End quote. The world also watched the measures China is willing to take when keeping their tight control on information when in 2015, Gui Minhai, a bookseller in Hong Kong, was arrested by the Chinese government for selling books about the personal lives of the members of the CCP. When compared to the United States, just a glance on the Twitter trending page goes to show these rights we take for granted. With our current president's administration, people with opposing viewpoints have not been silent with their opinions. In China, there's no choice given to the citizens when it comes to speaking up against the government or not. Let us also not forget, China is but just a single country out of the 120 states considered unfree. There's most certainly much work to be done. With our current cluttered social political climate, many injustices of the world have been made very clear to us, from disasters such as the crisis in Yemen, the widespread systemic racism found in the United States, and the open hostility against LGBTQ+ people in Poland. We are relentlessly exposed to such disheartening news every day. I don't wish for this video to incite the same feeling. All I ask of you to do is to inform yourself on this topic and to share this video. Sites such as the Freedom House, the National Coalition Against Censorship, and Reporters Without Borders provide us insightful sources of information on the topic of censorship and many other humanitarian issues. The only way to fight against censorship is to use the power we have as citizens of free countries to help people under authoritarian regimes that don't share the rights we take for granted.